Hey guys, it's Tim from Pro Wrestling Unlimited. Nick here as well, and we have a special guest with us today on the Pro Wrestling Unlimited podcast. We have Joe Hendry, all the way from the United Kingdom. What's going on, Joe?
This is the prestigious one here. I hope you are privileged to be here with me this time.
Pretty excited to have Joe on the show today. For a lot of you that have been tuning into the live show, tuning into our Twitter and stuff, we've been kind of teasing this a little bit. Some people have got it. We never confirmed anything, but really, really happy to have Joe on here this Monday.
I'm glad it's good to get the gratitude that I feel that I deserve. But continue praising me. Continue.
So, Joe, we were just going to ask, how are you doing this Monday, man?
I'm doing excellent. I have had a rare weekend of relaxation and recovery, so I took the time to start my Twitch channel. So I have been insulting my peons regularly on Twitch, so I was having fun with that. I've went to the gym, and then I'm now talking to your fine selves, and then I'm going to my amateur wrestling training after that. So I'm relaxed and ready.
And for those wondering, how can they find you on Twitch? What's your URL?
Thank you. I'm glad you picked up the hint there. It's twitch.tv/Joe Hendry.
And we will also throw that in the description below.
For sure.
Thank you. I would appreciate that. We've had some fairly hilarious things happen so far. We've been playing PlayerUnknown's Battleground, which has had some hilarious results thus far. So do join us. We played some old classics like Jet Set Radio. We were checking out Sonic Mania, Super Meat Boy, and Hotline Miami 2. But we're open to ideas. Yeah, I'll let you get it. That's my plug over. I'm
Oh, no worries at all. So to announce for a lot of people that don't know where you're from or what promotion you like to wrestle for, you're big for ICW.
Yes.
ICW down in Scotland. Am I right there?
Yes.
Right on Scotland. Right. And you guys have one of your big shows coming up, Fear and Loathing.
We do indeed. Fear and Loathing, November 19th at the Hydro. This was crazy when we did it last year. 6,000 people in attendance. Huge stars. We had Kurt Angle last year, who I have wrestled, by the way, on a separate event. But this year we have got Rob Van Dam. We've got Rey Mysterio coming over. And the reason it's huge is because obviously ICW is hugely influenced by ECW. So to get Rob Van Dam to appear in ICW, that is a big deal. Not only that, last year I did my Bohemian Rhapsody entrance to kick off the show. So you know we're going to pull out all the stops for you at the Hydro.
The Bohemian Rhapsody is the video that I showed all of my friends and teachers when they say, why do you like to watch pro wrestling? I'm like, just watch this. You'll understand.
I appreciate that. That is funny that you mentioned that, actually, because with the various prestigious entrances that I do, the goal is for it to be entertaining to anyone, wrestling fan or someone that's not a wrestling fan. And that's when you say that you had a clip to show people. My clip was I had a match with The Rock, and it included a kind of before and after promo as well with various shenanigans, and that was the clip I showed people to go, this is why I like wrestling. So to be your clip that shows people why you like wrestling, that is a huge compliment.
I really appreciate it, man. And you do mention the prestigious, I was going to call it the local hero, but I think we all know what happened. I would have hung up, and it would have been really awkward because you'd have had to put this out, but it would have been like 2 minutes long. So I'm glad you thought better of it. So where did the idea for those entrances come from?
Okay, so I'm trying to think about how to answer this in the best possible way. Okay, so I'm trying to think of the diplomatic answer. In professional wrestling, not everything is going to go your way, and things weren't going my way, and I needed to create something that no matter what way I was going to be presented, I needed to create something that, regardless of the outcomes of the matches, I was going to be able to present myself as a star. And I realized that even if I was getting whooped every single night, the clip that was going out to the people was of me coming to the ring, doing my entrance video, making fun of my opponent, and that presented me as a star, regardless of me getting slapped about the ring like nobody's business 5 seconds later. All they saw was the entrance. So it was an idea I had to present myself as a star to the wrestling community, even though I was not in that position in the company at the time. So I was way lower down on the card at the time. But I knew that even though the domestic fans of ICW, even though they didn't see me as a main event player at that time, I knew that when these clips went out, that the rest of the wrestling world that follow independent wrestling would see me as one of ICW's main attractions. And I feel that that's worked. And now here we are. And I feel that I've stepped into that role.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What was one of your favorite entrances that you did? My personal favorite from you was either the Bohemian Rhapsody or the cover of Limp Bizkit's Rollin', which was just fantastic.
I loved the Rollin' one.
I think the words were... I'm trying to remember what it was. A breathe in, a breathe out. My emissions go down. With my brand new bike, I can cycle through town. There you go. My favorite ones are the Joe Coffey one's probably my favorite because, there's a lot of people out there that will tell you that they achieved a lot of great things in their life. Like, for example, Kurt Angle won an Olympic gold medal, but can he say that he was able to create a song that went seamlessly from Hero by Enrique Iglesias to the Toys R Us theme song? So you really need to think about that. That's life-changing stuff right there.
Because clearly what's more important, a gold medal or covering a song in pro wrestling? I think we all know the answer to that.
I know. Absolutely. 100%. It's the transition to the Toys R Us theme that does it for me. So that was my favorite one. But I mean, they're people don't realize how stressful they are to make. Like, I mean, when I do these, I'm usually up until because obviously I have a very South Park mentality to it. I don't know if you've ever seen the documentary when they show how they make the Human Centipede episode. That is how my creative endeavors work. Don't have any ideas until the night before, come up with this amazing idea, and then have to execute it within a ridiculously short amount of time. Get very stressed, but imagine to pull it out the bag in the end, every single time.
I think that's called the college student in every class experience.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, it is. I did my dissertation at university in 3 days. 3 days. Wow. And it was like 15,000 words. I stayed awake for the whole duration of writing it.
Jesus.
And I know I scraped a first-class degree. I did get a first-class degree, but it was like you basically need 70% and above, and I got like 68.9%. But because it goes in 2%, basically, for some reason, at the university, I went to the order in like 62, 64, 66, 68, or 70. And so it goes up in increments of 2. So I was rounded up to 70% and got my first class degree. So I scraped it, but I got it.
Hey,
but then I read my dissertation.
By any means necessary.
Exactly. Just like my wrestling. But I actually got an A for every single one of my essays. But my dissertation brought me right down because obviously I left it for 3 days before. And I was like, why has this got a bad mark? Because one of my lecturers gave it like a super high mark, and the other one just was like, so I was like, why is this so, being marked so differently? And I read it, and basically, you have like your hypothesis at the start. Mm-hmm. I had left out a word that kind of turned it into a double negative. So my hypothesis was the opposite of what I was trying to say. So that one sentence ruined the entire document. So that was good.
Oh, wow.
So,
That's always a good thing to notice after you turn it in.
Right.
Yeah, that's always great. That is always great. Although I'm sure wrestling fans don't want to hear about my dissertation. So,
I do want to mention one more thing. The last thing about the whole entrance thing. When is Pro Wrestling Unlimited going to get their own custom Joe Hendry theme?
When you deposit a large sum into my bank account, that's when you can get one.
Oh, we will get on this app post recording. We will get on this.
Yeah. But when I see that PayPal notification come in, depending on the amount, that's how much effort's going to go into it. So if you get a voice recording back of a fart, you'll know it's not enough.
Good to know. So, you've wrestled for a while. You've been all over for a couple times. You were actually in WWE television. But you've wrestled a ton of venues. So what was one that really stood out to you, either fan-wise or just the match that you had?
One of the ones that Sorry, I do apologize. There's someone outside the house playing music at a ridiculous level right now. That's what that noise is. Don't know if you
How
can
dare
hear
they?
it.
At the Prestigious one's residence?
Yeah, at Hendry Towers. I mean, the security guards should be all over this. So, venues. I think there's a city called Morecambe in England, and when you go there to wrestle, it's like entering a parallel universe, because these are the most invested fans I think I've ever seen. Like, literally, I've had people like try to attack me. Like that's happened quite a few times, actually, as the Prestigious one. That's happened far too many times, actually, but that means I'm doing my job, so whatever.
Yeah,
I would say Morecambe is it reminds me of the old kind of World of Sport crowds. It's that sort of crowd, and it's just an anomaly in as far as wrestling crowds go. I don't want to say like they're not an educated wrestling fan base, because I'm trying to think of the way to describe it, but you get your fans who know everything. Like, the fans in Morecambe don't kind of read the dirt sheets and things like that. They're literally just going to see wrestling, and it's a nice throwback. It's nice to experience that. It's a little different.
Yeah, so it's definitely like the old 80 days where Ric Flair really wasn't this huge mean guy, but throughout a lot of territories, he was that guy, and people did not like him.
Exactly.
Definitely, man. Well, of course, talking about the best, what was the worst for you?
The worst, like, venue or experience, or
let's do why not both? Let's say, what was one of the worst venues for the purpose of just like
okay, I'll tell you one.
I like that the laugh was before this, so it's good.
Yeah, it's good. It's we had this gala day somewhere near Motherwell in Scotland, right? And I was really looking forward to it. But what I didn't realize, and I didn't know, and now I know, is that wrestling rings, when they're outside and it's a hot day, you can basically cook food on the surface. It is unbelievably hot. So every bump that you took was like, like every bump was literally, it felt like it was going to burn the mat into your skin. So it was like the match changed dramatically when we found out this, and it became on our feet kind of technical match with very, very few bumps in it very quickly. So that was just funny, because it was like, you literally, when I think there was like one pinfall at the end of the match, because it was like one of us had to obviously be on the mat for in excess of 3 seconds, and that was just going to hurt. So
3 seconds feels like 3 days.
It did, yeah, it did. So that was fun. Worst wrestling experience. I've been pretty lucky, to be honest with you.
Don't jinx it.
And no, I mean, if you think about it, I started in the business in 2013, and to be where I am now, it's pretty nuts.
Definitely, absolutely.
Yeah. So you're not going to hear too much bitching and complaining from me. I'll try and think of a funny one. I do have a funny rib, actually, that I ribbed myself.
Huh.
So, yeah, usually it's someone else that does something horrific to you, and I managed to do it myself. So I'll tell you that real quick. That's probably the worst experience. It's not the worst, but it's the one that's most, I would say, viable for telling on a podcast. But basically, I was sharing a hotel room with somebody, and we were meant to have this night out, and it kind of all fell through, and all the bars were shut, and everybody was a bit kind of on edge, and it was like, whatever. Everybody's tired, and we're like, you know what? All my bags were kind of all sealed up and packed up, and I couldn't really be bothered going in to get my toothpaste. I had my toothbrush in the front of the bag, and I just said to my mate, I was like, listen, can I just borrow your toothpaste? Is that right? He's like, yeah, go ahead and just get it right out of the bag. So I'm like, cool. So I'm brushing my teeth, and I'm kind of half talking about something. I'm brushing my teeth while I'm kind of talking about this at the same time, and just starts to taste funny. Like something's not quite right. And I used to date this girl who was like, a bit of a hippie, and she had this weird toothpaste, and I was like, oh, my mate's got that damn crappy toothpaste that I remember. And I was like, oh, man. And I remember just brushing my teeth for like another 30 seconds. I was like, dude, what is up with this damn toothpaste? It was like, just get some normal stuff. And he's like, what are you talking about? I've got Colgate. And I'm like, oh God. And at that moment, I knew something was wrong. And he was like, what have you put on your toothbrush? I was like, I don't know. So I went through his bag to look at what I had mistaken as toothpaste. And he had recently got a tattoo. And what he was using to kind of cover the tattoo was nappy rash cream. So I had brushed my teeth with nappy rash cream.
Oh God.
And here's the thing, it was like kind of water resistant. So not only did I brush that right into the old gums, the taste didn't go away for like a day.
Oh,
so
my God.
Oh God. I couldn't live. I would just give up.
Yeah, I thought about it.
That'd be the end of me.
Yeah.
I can't go on.
I had to be brushing for like 10 minutes.
The worst thing is I ripped myself.
I'd like to think he had that planned. Somewhere in his mind that was all planned.
He would be taking credit for it if he did. It was just, it was my stupidity.
Now, you know, never forget your own toothpaste.
No, I will always bring my own.
The Prestigious wants life lessons. Always have your toothpaste.
Yes.
Oh gosh, yeah, man. So definitely, you've just been around wrestling for a while. You haven't only done professional wrestling, this style of wrestling. You've done a lot of other stuff. You did Olympic style wrestling and amateur wrestling. So what came first, and what started what started each love?
So basically, I've been a huge fan of pro wrestling, but it wasn't until sort of later on than most people. I started getting into wrestling when I was about 13, and then I got hooked when I was about 14 or 15. So I didn't know anyone that liked wrestling. I didn't even know you could become one. So I had decided that I was going to, music was kind of my other goal. But I really wanted to do wrestling more, but I didn't think it was possible. I didn't think it was big enough to do wrestling. And which seems crazy now, because I'm like, it's rare actually that I wrestle somewhere bigger than me. But at the time, I was like, I'm afraid I can't be a wrestler. That's impossible. So I went and did the music thing for like 10 years. And to be honest, just approached it in the wrong way. My strategy was all wrong. We had some really cool moments. I went on some tours with some big bands and stuff, but it didn't really work out, and everything had kind of fallen through. And I was like, you know what? I was just turning 25, and I was like, I need to do this wrestling thing. This is what I want to do in my life, and I can't live my life without giving this a shot, because I genuinely believed in my heart. I don't know why. I hadn't had any evidence of this, but in my mind, I was like, I know I have it in me to be the WWE champion. And I can't tell you where that came from, but it's just something that's been inside me that I can't, it's never gone away. I just felt I, for some reason, had the tools to do it. So I started wrestling training, gave it absolutely everything, and my life was just being in that training school for the first year. And so things took off really quick. I had my first WWE tryout before I had an actual match, which was a crazy experience.
Wow.
So my first wrestling match was in front of CM Punk and William Regal and Fit Finlay and Big Show, and it was like so much pressure that
nerves
it was like
upon nerves.
Well, but here's the thing. If you can imagine, like, it was like a balloon getting blown up, the pressure. It was like, oh God. And then it like just burst. There was too much pressure that my brain couldn't even comprehend the pressure. So it just kind of went away. I was like, well, we're here now. And then I had my tryout, and, I loved it. It went great. As you said earlier, I've kind of done a few things with WWE, which was really cool. And then the amateur wrestling thing came about again through ICW. So they had, you might have seen some of their documentaries, the BBC documentaries. And for one of the BBC documentaries, they were going to follow my story. Now, I didn't actually get included in the documentary, and I'm glad that I didn't in retrospect, but I filmed at the BBC for like 13 days or something like that. And the story was what happens when a pro wrestler tries amateur wrestling. And I think I didn't appear in the documentary because it would have been a story if I'd have got my ass whipped. But I actually did pretty well and decided to continue. So that's where amateur wrestling started. And I thought to myself, I went to the Commonwealth Games ceremony when they had the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow, and I saw all the kind of Scottish athletes walking around the stadium representing their country and just like the emotion of it. And I was like, that would be pretty cool. And I thought then, I was like, you know what, I'm going to do that. I'm going to go to the Commonwealth Games, to hell with it. And I had when I was younger, I did judo when I was a kid, but I was rubbish at it. I went back when I was 19, got my black belt, and I did that before I went to pro wrestling. So I had that foundation. And then I've just been working away at that. It's been going really well, picking up some decent medals. And now I just need to pick up one more medal, and then I've met the qualification standard. The problem is the I probably won't get picked for the Commonwealth Games, because the way that it works is they have a limited number of athletes. So if there's a badminton player that they feel is better at badminton than I am at amateur wrestling, they're going to go with them, because I've not been doing the sport that long. And also, they hate pro wrestling. Like, we actually got an email from Sport Scotland about how they don't. It was either Scottish Wrestling or Sport Scotland. It's one of the two. I'll look into which one it was before I start burying them. But basically said, "Oh, we're sick of wrestling being represented as theatrics and all that." And I just thought, for me to receive this email, this does not take a detective to figure out who they're speaking to here in this email. So that kind of made me think that I'm not going to get chosen, even if I meet the qualification standard. But in my mind, if I meet the qualification standard, then I've done my job, you know? So
no, absolutely.
Right.
I've got my tournament coming up in November. And if that doesn't come off, I have a very interesting backup plan, which could be bigger than the Commonwealth Games. So
moving to the States, going to be part of the Olympics, right?
No, not the Olympics. But I will be competing in a very public arena if the Commonwealth Games doesn't happen.
And I kind of want to mention something. You talked about going there and seeing, people represent your country and how moving that was. I mean, how does that feel for not only, a lot of kids and teenagers and some adults, where you are in Edinburgh and throughout Scotland and ICW, but even here in the United States, on social media, people who see you, how does it feel to kind of be that inspiration and be, with your end, kind of like the entrances, making people, see the entertainment side of wrestling? How does that feel to really kind of be an inspiration for a lot of people?
I think the thing that really gets to me, the thing that really got to me is, as you'll know, as the prestigious one, I committed to that 100%. And now I'm going in a different direction. I'm still the prestigious one, but my focus is going to be on entertainment. But for 6 months, while I had that What Culture belt, it's hard to put it into words, but basically I did not falter for 1 second. I didn't do autographs, didn't take pictures unless you were going to be paying £100. I 100% committed to what I was doing. And that was very important to me. Being that person, that was the person I needed to be at the time. Mm-hmm. But the difficulty is when you get emails and messages from people who need your help and want to talk to you. That was the hardest part of it. And one person sent me a message that I had to reply to. Literally put me in a spot where I was like, I have to reply to this person. And basically it's happened a few times now that it's kind of emotional to even talk about it, but people have contacted me and told me, and I know a few of my colleagues in ICW have had the same thing, had people contact them and tell them that they were in a very dark place with some really dark thoughts, and that a wrestling segment we were involved with made them happy for a moment and made them reconsider. You know what I mean? And that is just, you can't really put into words what that means,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think
I've had a few. I mean, look, I have quite this is getting pretty dark pretty quick, but I believe that I've got quite a controversial opinion on depression and mental illness and things like that. I think that it is something that can affect everyone and anyone at any time.
For sure.
And I think for some people it's a clinical thing. I think for a lot of people it is something that you can actively take responsibility for. And a lot of people don't like that opinion, and I understand why. But the reason I have that opinion is because I know what's worked for me. Whenever I've felt like I'm in, not that bad a place, but whenever I've felt down, there's always something that you can do to improve your situation. And a lot of it, trust me, comes down to diet. Diet and exercise, having those two things in check is going to improve your life. Even if it makes you feel less bad, that is going to improve your life. So I've had some people contact me saying that they're having problems, they're in a bad place. And that is the first thing that I say to them is, well, let's talk about your diet and exercise. Let's talk about your goals. A lot of people have these huge ideas of where they want to be in life, but they don't have like the steps in between. So I think the most rewarding thing I've done with wrestling is I've been able to help a few people kind of think about how they can improve their lives. you know.
Right.
Absolutely.
And that's something I really want to get more into. Being the prestigious one as the What Culture champion, it was difficult to do that in the position that I was in and the person that I had to be at that time. But now, as you'll see in my Twitch broadcasts, I'm open to answering all questions, and I'm going to be more active in helping people. There are two things I feel quite strongly about. Well, there's lots of things, but I'd say homelessness is one, and mental health is the other one. And I think those are two things I would like to, if I can use my platform to make a difference to those two things, that would be great.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely,
for sure. I mean, even if you could just help one person out there, as long as you know you're making a difference, that's really what matters.
Yeah. The other thing is, I think it's just, I know what it's like to be in a situation where you just feel like, you know, everything's just collapsing on top of you, and it's a lot of the time you can be your own worst enemy. And if you can learn to take responsibility for your own happiness to a certain degree, I know it's not possible for some levels of trauma and stuff like that, but if you can take responsibility to a certain degree for your own happiness and you put yourself in charge, it can help people out of a lot of situations. I know it's not the case for everyone, but it certainly helps me.
Absolutely. I think
sure.
you know, to say I've gone through similar experiences. I've had those, you know, dark times, dark thoughts, and watching entrances and watching you just perform as an individual. Definitely, you know, took those thoughts away for a while and just focused on the wrestling, and it was great. And so, you know, everything that you do and, you know, everything that ICW is doing definitely helps to everybody all over.
I mean, and that's the thing that I try to remember, is that wrestling, when I was in a bad place, wrestling was my escape. And, you know, you get into these situations where wrestling requires you to be a selfish individual. It really does. That's the nature of the beast. You have to be selfish at certain times. You'll hear top guys in the business and, you know, top men and women in the business say similar things. But every so often you need to take a step back and realize why you got into wrestling and why you love it.
Absolutely, dude.
Sorry, that got dark quick.
No. I think it got to a place where it's like a lot of people don't see this side of pro wrestling as like, right, we're doing this to perform, to entertain people, to really give people something to look and smile and laugh and ooh and ah about. It's the mystique of pro wrestling. The whole idea of is like, oh, to non-fans, it's just people beating each other up for no reason. But to the people that have been watching it, it's, you know, it's storylines, it's development, it's laughing, it's silliness, but it's a competitiveness. So it's something that, like, you know, a lot of people don't know this side about pro wrestling, about why wrestlers choose to do what they do. Yeah,
it's the thing is, though, I think that wrestling is, this is going to sound weird, but now it feels like being part of this kind of cool secret club, because wrestling gets slagged off by the mainstream. People make fun of it because they don't understand it. And we know it's because they don't understand it. Exactly. They don't get it. It's their problem, you know? Now, have you ever had like a favorite album or a favorite artist or a favorite game, something that's underappreciated, and you know and love it and appreciate it, and then it all of a sudden, like, I'll give you an example, Kings of Leon. Like, I liked Kings of Leon right from the very beginning, and it was like not a lot of people were talking about them and stuff like that, and then they just became like the biggest band in the world, and to me it was like, that was my little band that I liked, and now everyone likes them, you know. Whereas it's like that, it's like that with wrestling. I think I kind of enjoy the fact that we are this kind of this subculture, our own subculture, that kind of governs itself away from the mainstream. I like that. I like that aspect of it. So I don't mind the fact when people try and make fun of me for wrestling. I have people to this day try and make fun of what I do for a living, and I love it when people try and do it. And I go, explain to me what your job involved. Tell me why your job is better than my job. Please go for it. You know, and those people don't know what to say.
I can't wait for the main argument.
I mean, a lot.
Go ahead. Yeah. Sorry.
A lot of people are threatened by. I mean, this is another thing. A lot of people are threatened by people who go after their dreams. You know, there's nothing more, and that dream could be anything. That could be, you know, a certain job. It could be like being an entertainer. It could be just being a parent. Whatever your dream is, go for it. For just you have to. You owe it to yourself. You know.
Oh, let's put it this way. For the people listening, Joe says that, and you're like, oh, that's kind of impossible. we never expected to get someone as big as Joe Hendry on this show.
That's exactly where I was about to go.
Like, I mean, we're sitting here. You know, we'll ruin the kayfabe of this. It's 9:30 in the morning. Joe so graciously agreed to come on here, and it's just, I mean, preparing is just like, how do you even prepare for something this big? You've never experienced it, and when it happens, it's pretty damn great. I'm having a lot of fun. So yeah, just to kind of attest to what Joe says.
Well, I'm glad that I'm able to help you guys feel that way. I hope your viewers and listeners enjoy it. Yeah, it's been a good time for me. It's been a good time. You know, just it's kind of hard to put it into words. You know, just basically the other thing is, if you do have a dream, don't think that it's going to be all good all the time. It's extreme. If you chase a dream, it is extreme highs and lows. The absolute highest highs and the lowest lows, and you need to be ready for that, and you need to know that it's coming. You know, so but the rewards are just, you can't put it into words.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure. I mean, we've experienced the same things here with our YouTube channel, as far as, you know, we were doing really good, and then YouTube had their issues where they weren't paying people, and then now they're fixing it again. And it's like you said, if you have that passion, and if you're really in love with what you're doing, just keep with it and follow it, and eventually it'll work out for you in the end.
Well, do you know what I've learned? Your goals have to be bigger than money.
Oh, yeah.
When your goals are about, when your primary goal is about money, it's not going to happen. Your passion has to be so strong for whatever you're doing that you would do it regardless of the money. The reason is because through the bad times, if you don't have that anchor, that is that reason for doing it, then you will falter when, let's say, you have a bad month or something like that. That's when most people will drop out. It is passion that keeps you right on track.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, like, first, year and a half, Nick, that I was doing this channel, it wasn't monetary reasons. It was just, I loved what I was doing, the interaction with the fans and the subscribers, and that's really what just kept it going.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the right mentality to have. Even now that you are going to get into a decent size, always remember why you started it and why you're doing it. It's too easy. It's too easy to drift off and say, how much money am I making from this? You know, it's too easy to drift off on that. It's almost hard. I feel like to be like you have to be a business person, but it's almost like you have to be a business person for the principle of like knowing your own worth. That is very important. When I do business, that's why it is. It's not so much for this is how much money I want. A lot of the time it's for the principle of knowing your worth and your own value rather than the actual money itself. Do you know what I mean? It's a weird thing because obviously what I have also found is there is a balance to be had. You have to make decisions, and a lot of the time making good monetary decisions leads to good creative decisions as well, and making the best decisions for your security and your finance often leads you to the best places for creativity as well. So there can be a balance. It's a balance between those two things, you know. But sorry, I'm getting off into bloody business and pursuing your goals speech here.
I was going to say
they probably don't want Tony Robbins from for the podcast. But
I was just going to say, I think right there is a good place to call it. I think we definitely touched a lot.
Well, I'll tell you what. I know we said we'd do half an hour, but I feel like I've blabbed on. And so if you guys want to do another 10, 15 minutes, go for it. That's fine by me. If you want to get some more wrestling questions in
the
there.
Prestigious one gracing us. I feel like I've dominated with questions a little bit. So Tim, go ahead and ask some questions to Joe.
Okay. Well, you said earlier, you spent some time with What Culture Pro Wrestling. How was that exactly with their whole mentality of they were for the fans and they were doing things differently as far as putting their stuff out on the YouTube and just the way they ran their promotion? From outside looking in, it seemed like they ran maybe a little different than like a bigger promotion that's all about trying to get television and all that kind of stuff. So can you give like your experience with What Culture?
It's been a whirlwind. You know, if you think about the things that I've done, I main evented a pay-per-view that Jim Cornette and Jim Ross commentated on and faced Kurt Angle in the main event. You know, that is insane. That was a crazy moment in my life. That was a moment where I literally, in the middle of the ring, I was like, oh my God, I'm facing Kurt Angle in a match right now. This is happening. There's Jim Ross talking about what I'm doing. You know, it was absolutely crazy. So it has provided me with some unbelievable opportunities. And obviously, you know, there's a lot. I'm getting a lot of questions about what's happening with What Culture and things like that. And the same with 5-star wrestling. And you know, the thing is, it's like the more places that we have to work, the better it's going to be for the talent, for the fans as well. So it is good to have, you know, these big promotions running in the UK and all over the world, because it creates an alternative for people, you know. And like you say, I think a lot of people are starting to realize that there's a lot that can be done online. You know, if you think about, like, let's look at like the Joe Rogan podcast as an example. He has a bigger reach than like most main networks.
Yeah.
Like people think of the news as like the big media sources, but Joe Rogan's podcast is, as an individual source, bigger than just about any news program in the world. I mean, you can just go out and create your own thing now. So it's great to have, you know, these places to work that can put the content up on the internet, and it can act as a TV program for people to follow what we do. And I think, to be fair, ICW doesn't really get enough credit for its impact upon the scene. ICW really it kind of feels. You guys hear that call come through?
Broke up a little bit there.
Yeah, you did break up a little bit.
Okay, sorry, my apologies. Yeah, I don't think ICW gets enough credit for what it's done for the scene, you know, and what it's doing for the scene.
Right.
And it's really the place that gave me a platform and took me from a guy who had some good ideas to being able to actually showcase that and show what I can do and create, you know, recreate myself. So ICW, I owe a lot to ICW for the opportunities that they gave me. And again, as with What Culture as well, if you look at, basically, I've had the opportunity to work with some of the best talents in the world. You know, the other week it was like me, Joe Coffey and BT Gunn were facing off against, you know, the Young Bucks and Will Ospreay and Marty Scurll, and it's crazy to get to work with these talents. And again, you know, I just had the match with Jack Swagger. I've worked with Cody Rhodes. I've worked with, you know, I've even had a little interaction with Wade Barrett as well, which was cool. So, you know, I've had and obviously Kurt Angle. I've had the opportunity to work with some of the very best talents in the world. So, I've, you know, the wrestling business has been good to me.
Right on, and we can see how good it's been. Being that my voice just cracked. I think I just hit puberty today. Yeah. Seeing how good that wrestling business has been to you with, you know, your following. You have a huge following of fans that absolutely love what you do. And, you know, you have some fans that have never seen your ICW work, and some fans that have never seen your WCPW work, or some fans that have never seen, you know, certain things that you've done. So there's always that aspect of like, you know, I did stuff in ICW. I'm doing stuff in WCPW. I'm doing stuff with 5-star, doing stuff with this promotion. It's really giving this whole audience feeling of like, this guy is definitely a big, big name.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, as I said, my goal is to be the WWE champion, and my goals with ICW, like when I was in basically with the entrances, my goals are to say, I want to have the most entertaining entrances in professional wrestling, bar none, bar any company. And in my mind, I feel that I've achieved that, and you know, I'm going to continue to do that. I am the prestigious one, but I'm going to do the odd entrance here and there, like I did the one for Sabu the other day, which I had a lot of fun doing.
And then with loved.
Yeah, with What Culture, this is a tough one, man, because I have people telling me that I can't wrestle when they watch my matches in What Culture, and this is all I'm going to say about this. You think about the prestigious one. Why am I going to do a Hurricane Rana when I can do a hard buckle and just injure my opponent by just sending them with a simple maneuver into the corner to achieve the same amount of damage? That is what the prestigious one would do. That is what I would do, just because I'm not flipping around all over the place. People need to try and understand what's going on. You know, that's the one thing I will say is it's like professional wrestling fans. a lot of professional wrestling fans online and in the comment section think they know everything about the business, and they don't. Sometimes it's better to sit back and just kind of enjoy and appreciate the story that is unfolding in front of you.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So with What Culture, I'm hoping that in retrospect, when people see the work that I have done, like watch my match with Martin Kirby, the one where I won the title, and I'm willing to bet that is going to make you feel uncomfortable at one point. That is going to evoke an emotion from you. And that day, I think something was done that hadn't been done in a little while. I'm really proud of that match. So I think people will watch that and hopefully listen to the words I'm saying now and maybe look at it from a different perspective.
Absolutely.
I think what I've done in What Culture might be appreciated a bit more once some more time has passed.
Right.
I think that's one thing with wrestling fans is that there's flashy wrestling fans, and there's the fans that are like, it wouldn't fit this person or this character to do a Hurricane Rana when they're clearly a very a tactitional wrestler. I don't even know if that's a word. I'm making up words here.
Yeah,
a very mat wrestler.
Yeah, my point is, why am I going to start jumping off the top rope if Will Ospreay's on the show?
Exactly.
That's a good point.
Is the prestigious one the guy that's supposed to be jumping off the top rope? Not really. Although, what I will say is I decided that in my match with Will Ospreay, I was going to show more. I was going to show what I could do more. So I would really encourage people to watch my match with Will Ospreay, because I think that's when I'm starting to see the evolution of my style of wrestling and where I could go. And there's also a rather cool moment in it that is somewhat of a tribute to the Nature Boy Ric Flair. I found myself in a rather unfortunate situation. I threw Will Ospreay into the corner. I charged at him, and he kind of threw me over the top rope, and I landed on the apron. And I thought to myself, you know how Ric Flair, when he lands on the apron, he runs along, runs up the turnbuckle, and goes to jump off, but he always gets peeled off the top.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about in Ric Flair matches?
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
So yeah. So he'll go to the top, and he never hits the crossbody. He's only hit it once or twice. I think he hit it on Shawn Michaels in that WrestleMania 24 match, but he usually never hits it. And I thought, I'm going to hit it. So he throws me over the top. I land on the apron. I run up the ropes, and instead of peeling me off the top, he hit me with a Hurricane Rana off the top. But I thought that moment was a pretty cool tribute to Ric Flair with a modern twist. And I'm hoping that people will watch the match, and maybe there's a bit more than meets the eye with some of these things. Right. You know, that's one example.
And for those that do want to see the match, we will link that down below. For those of you that do want to watch that match with Joe and Ospreay, please do.
For sure.
Yeah, but I mean, the main thing I'm going to say for now is obviously we do have the Hydro coming up on November 19th. And if you're anywhere in the UK or even outside the UK, sorry, I do apologize. I've got a very loud chair here.
Not a problem.
Sorry, I do too during every stream.
Yeah, it sounds like I'm farting all over the place, but I assure you it's the chair. So November 19th, we're going to be at the Hydro, and this is going to be This is going to be, it's the Hydro's. It's like the biggest night of your life. It's just, I mean, we had 6,000 people last year for an independent wrestling show. That's just unfathomable, really. So we're all excited to go back. And to put it this way, if you fly in for this show, or if you're from the UK, you drive up for this show, you're not going to be disappointed. You're absolutely not going to be disappointed. So make sure you check that out.
For sure.
Well, and for those excuse me, I forgot what words were for about 6 seconds in the gloriousess of the prestigious one. For those of you that are outside of the UK here in the States, where Tim and I are, where can they watch the show?
I believe now ICW has its own kind of ICW on demand service.
Right.
I believe we usually do pay-per-views through Fight TV and stuff. What I'll do is I will take a quick look and see exactly where we're broadcasting it, and I will message you guys so you can perhaps put up a link in the description if that would be possible for you.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We actually, if it is through Fight TV, Tim should go ahead and let them know.
Have a slight partnership with Fight TV where we can put up their stuff to our website, PWUnlimited.net, and then they can order it through Fight TV, and then it just all goes through there. So yeah, I'll look it up as well myself.
Let me just double check. You might need to edit this because I don't know if I actually is. But let me find out if hopefully we'll be broadcasting it live.
Yeah.
We don't edit anything on this show.
Okay. Oh well. You tell the
kidding.
prestigious one to do things now.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, this is super great having the prestigious one, Joe Hendry, on here. This is definitely crazy.
It's an
This is
honor.
intense.
A very big honor.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you guys. You've caught me in a good mood. If you've seen any other interviews, I do have a tendency to be horrible to interviewers.
I did actually watch a few interviews on YouTube, and the one I saw, I don't remember the exact name, and you're sitting with a very lovely young lady,
Alicia,
and you were absolutely you were not holding back, and I thought
she deserved it. You know what I mean?
I thought it was great. But I'm glad that we were able to catch you on a good day. I'm very happy.
You've caught me on a good day.
So Joe, we really appreciate you coming on here, man. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thank you guys for tuning in to listening. And thanks Joe for being so open to coming on here, man.
No problem.
Yeah.
Again, you can hear more candid conversations like this on twitch.tv/Joe Hendry. Also, please follow me on Twitter @Joe S. Hendry and all the other stuff, Facebook, and my YouTube channel as well. That's really super active now. So youtube.com/Joe Hendry.
Oh yeah, there's some great. If you want to laugh, I got quite a few laughs off your YouTube channel here recently.
Oh, does my wrestling amuse you?
Well, the Sabu video.
No. You're making fun of my wrestling now.
Oh, well, I apologize.
But why does my work make you laugh?
We almost got through the whole thing. Now he's just
no. Don't. Now you're being rude. Now you're not talking directly to me. You're talking about me to someone else, and I'm right here.
Well, I apologize, prestigious one.
Nah, it's we're done here. Finish up. We're done
here. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Hendry. We hope you have a fantastic day, sir.
Yeah. I'm just gonna go now.
You just ended it.
Yep. Well,
that was Joe Hendry, ladies and gentlemen.
That's going to do it for this episode. I guess I kind of killed that in the end, but yeah.
Way to go, Tim, ruining the show.
Hey, Nick. I'm sorry. But yeah, thanks, guys, for joining us here. We had the prestigious one, Joe Hendry, with us on this special edition of the Pro Wrestling Unlimited podcast. I've been Tim. This has been Nick.
That has been Nick. I have been Nick. You can find me on Twitter @PW_Armstrong.
And you can find us at...
Yeah, you guys, are you guys still there?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're still here.
Rejoin so I could hang up on you again.
I absolutely love this dude. Jesus. Yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. That was the prestigious one. He can't do an outro. Oh, yes, he can.
He's back.
He's coming back. Thank you guys so. What's up?
You got an apology to make?
Yes, I was trying to before you. I want to say I'm very, very sorry for that. I was not trying to poke any fun or anything at you, Mr. Hendry.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Apology not accepted, but it is what it is. Anyway, finish your damn show.
Once again, Hendry, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it, and we will see you guys in the future.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.